Welcome to this week's edition of Mob Talk. I'm Dave Stratweiser.
And I'm George Anastasia with the Philadelphia Inquirer.
George, one of our South Philadelphia gangsters, in trouble again and in the headlines again.
Alleged underboss Marty Angalina, a chronic criminal, once again finding himself under indictment, this time in Atlantic County.
George, a little cool this week, but supposed to heat up, and things are certainly heating up for Marty Angalina down the shore.
Yeah, he's jackpotted again, and this goes back to September. He gets involved in a situation while he's down the shore, disturbing the peace, and he's arrested by the Margate police. And as he's being released after sitting in the cooler for like 3 or 4 hours, he gets in an altercation with a police officer and allegedly spits on him. So now he gets arrested for aggravated assault. Yeah. And now he's been indicted for ag assault and is looking at a maximum of 18 months. I don't think it will come to that, but this is another criminal offense in a long line of criminal offenses for Marty Angalina.
Well, let's walk back through that a little bit. He does 6 or so years in federal prison for racketeering after the last Merlino gang trial. Right. Gets out and immediately starts getting in trouble when he gets out.
He was violated twice for supervised release violations, associating with individuals he shouldn't have associated with. Sent back to prison twice, each time for 4 months. Was arrested for DUI. Had a couple other, I think, personal altercations that we know about, and then had this situation in Margate. So, I mean, an attorney who's familiar with Marty said he's trying to do life on the installment plan. Yeah. I mean, and you ask people why, and they say, this is just the way he is. He doesn't seem to have a lot of self-control.
And I got to tell you, I mean, it's no secret that he showed up at the mob's Christmas party at the saloon back in December. So he's still hanging around with the guys, hanging out with the guys, getting probably caught on tape by city guys and the feds, hanging around with the guys.
Yeah, I mean, he's the antithesis of the alleged boss, Joe Ligambi. Ligambi wants to be under the radar. Marty seems to be always on the radar, always center stage. And it's created a lot of problems for him.
Now, this in Jersey, if you get 18 months for this, you do about a third of that, which would be about 6 months. Could you see a plea coming up here?
Yeah, I mean, I think 6 months would probably be the max. If he pleads out and he gets 6, he's going to end up doing 2, something like that. Right. I can see something like that working out. What we're hearing is he's got more serious things to worry about than this anyway down the road, so we'll see how that plays out.
Coming from this building, FBI headquarters, no secret he's a target.
He's one of the many individuals who have been targeted by the ongoing FBI investigation into a broad racketeering probe.
Okay, George, let's change it up a little bit, switch venues from the FBI headquarters to federal court. Big trial going on over there, a drug kingpin accused of all sorts of crimes, including trying to eliminate a government informant. Yeah,
it's the trial of Maurice Phillips, kingpin out of North Jersey, multi-million-dollar cocaine operation, and the hitman, the man he allegedly hired to eliminate a witness, testified this past week. His cousin, Brian Phillips, talked in detail about how he went out to Springfield Township and murdered Shanette Glanville and murdered her godson, who happened to be, unfortunately, in the house on the day the murder went down. So the hitman testified for about a day, Brian Phillips, and very coolly described how he posed as a FedEx delivery man, went there with a package, walked into the house, said I had a delivery for Shanette Glanville. When he came face-to-face with her, he pulled out a gun. She put her hands up. Thought she was going to be robbed. She said, I don't have any money. He said, lay on the floor. And he very coolly said, and then I leaned over and shot her twice in the back of the head. Then the godson reacted, started to come at him, and he said, I emptied my gun into him. 2 murders, ultimate witness intimidation, and Maurice Phillips, the kingpin on trial, faces a potential death sentence if he's convicted of this.
Yeah, now, I was out there the day of those murders. We were all surprised because the FBI showed up that day at a homicide, a double homicide, which is unusual. We knew something was up that day, and it turns out she was a big-time informant for them on that case. She was laundering money for that drug.
Yeah, I mean, part of the testimony that's come out in this trial is Shanita Glanville was a major forger, not only for Maurice Phillips, but for a lot of drug underworld people. She was known within that drug underworld. She could fabricate any kind of document you wanted. W-2 forms, IRS reports, driver's license, college diplomas. So she moved around in that world, but at some point she had gotten jammed up and decided to cooperate with the feds, and Maurice Phillips wanted her eliminated.
Well, let's talk about the amounts of money we're talking about here. There was some testimony about him talking about his cousin taking him up to North Jersey and talk about the apartment with the $50,000 bundles of cash sitting around.
I mean, the testimony's been phenomenal with regard to the money. The cousin talked about going into a house, walking down into the basement, and the floor was just covered with money. Never saw that much money. Other witnesses have testified about how they've helped him count his money, and counting and stacking the money and bundling the money, millions of dollars. And according to Maurice Phillips' girlfriend, She said Phillips once told her he has saved, over the course of about a 5-year operation, $11 million socked away. So this was a multi-million-dollar operation, larger by far, I think, than what we've seen in the past with Ace Capone, Alton Coles, Cabani Savage. This guy was even, I think, bigger moneymaker than they were.
And there was a tale about a duffel bag. They went to some joint to pick up a duffel bag or something like that, and when he opened it up, bam!
They go up to Brooklyn to a hair salon to pick up a duffel bag. It's a money pickup, and he says when they opened the duffel bag, $785,000 inside the duffel bag.
All right, George, for next week's show, we could have a verdict in the Maurice Phillips drug case, and we could have some information maybe about Angalina's fate at the shore. Yeah,
the smart move for Marty Angalina is probably to cop a plea, but people who know Marty say he's never done the smart thing, so that remains to be seen.
All right, we'll see what happens. That's Mob Talk for this week. See you next week.